Okay, we have talked about the Ottoman Empire. We have talked about the Golden Age of Islam. We've talked about how Islam spread. One of the places Islam spread was to India, and it had a pretty big impact on it, and it was kind of in a couple stages. Okay, you had originally the Delhi Sultanate, which was this area kind of surrounded in red. Um, it was invaded by Tamerlane, or Timur, who was the great grandson, I believe, of Genghis Khan. And he develops the rises out of the ashes of his, begins as the Mughal Empire, which spreads down all the way down India. And it is the third of the great uh, Indian empires that we're going to talk about this year. Okay, so India's empires. The Delhi Sultanate is the first. After the Gupta's fall in 550 AD, India again fragments into a whole bunch of local kingdoms. Rival princes battle for control over the northern plain where the two main river systems are. This is the fertile land where things grow. Indian culture continues to flourish. Trade with all parts of the Indian Ocean network continue. And around 1000, Muslim Turks and Afghans begin to push into India. And in the late 1100s, the Sultan, which is a term for it's the Muslim ruler or Muslim emperor of Ghor, defeats the Hindus and he makes Delhi his capital. Okay. The Sultan was able to conquer India because they had superior cavalry based on speedy horses rather than elephants. Hindu princes had wasted resources battling amongst themselves. Members of the lower caste converted to Islam, which preached equality, and this is huge. The people on the bottom end of the thing say, hey, we're treated equal in Islam. We're not going to be Hindus anymore. They create this brilliant civilization based in Delhi where Greek learning, Persian art, and architecture all flourish. At first, the religions clash. The Buddhist monasteries are destroyed. Buddhism is no longer a major religion in India. Hindus are slaughtered, but eventually things calm down. And a new religion, what becomes known as Sikhism, blends Hinduism and Islam. Now, you still have clashes today between Hindus and Muslims all over India, especially on the borders. India was partitioned by the British when they pulled out of there in the late 1940s. Into Muslim and Hindu states, but you still have a lot of conflict between the two religions. Okay, so here's a little brief comparison of the two religions. You should make sure you write this down. Islam is monotheistic. Religious and moral duties are defined by the 5 pillars, belief in heaven and hell and a judgment day, and there are no priests. All believers are equal. Hinduism has the belief in many gods that are all part of Brahman, so it's sort of polytheistic, sort of monotheistic, emphasis on religious and moral duties and on following your dharma, and then the whole belief in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Okay, Sikhism kind of combines them up. They believe in the unity of God, so that it's monotheistic. They believe in reincarnation, and they reject the caste system, and that's probably the key for its growth. Okay. 1398, Tamerlane, who I mentioned earlier, plunders the northern plain and smashes Delhi. This isn't the only place, as you can see by the map down on the right, that he conquers. Okay, he spreads into India, Afghanistan, the southern plains of Asia, Iran, and all the way into Turkey. Okay, his artisans are enslaved and to build his capital at Samarkand, which is up here. This is the capital, so they take people from India up to Samarkand and enslave them. Northern India falls into rival Hindu and Muslim states, and the Muslim sultanates will not regain control until 1526. Okay, when they do, they establish what becomes known as the Mughal Empire, and it's kind of just a Indianization, I guess, of the term Mongol into Mughal or Mogul, eventually they're called. Okay, 1526, Turkish and Mongol armies pass through the mountain passes into India. They're led by Babur, a military genius. Babur defeats the Delhi Sultanate and sets up the Mughal dynasty that rules from 1526 to 1857 till they're conquered by the British. Okay, his grandson Akbar creates a strong central government and becomes called, in history, he's known as Akbar the Great. He wins respect of all through religious toleration, and this is really key to settling things back down and creating a peaceful time. He welcomes Hindus into the government, increases their rights, and he creates a unified kingdom that has Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, and Sikhs in it. Okay, here's a picture of Akbar the Great. Okay, the high point of the or golden age of Mughal literature is under Akbar's rule, and under his great grandson. After his wife dies, he builds the Taj Mahal, which you may have heard of, as a tomb for her. It's known as the seventh wonder or the eighth wonder of the modern world. Started in 1632, took 20,000 years or 20 years and 22,000 workers to complete, and it's considered the greatest monument to Mughal rule. Okay. Late 1600s, Mughal leaders begin to persecute Hindus again. Economy falters because the Hindus begin to revolt. The same type of thing that happens whenever you have discontent. The golden age comes to the end, and it's not as good to live there. The climate of discontent allows Europeans to gain training and political power in India. We will talk about that a little down the road when we get into the whole age of exploration, or the global convergence, as I call it. By the mid-1800s, the Mughal Empire has collapsed. It's been replaced by the British. Okay, so there is a quiz on Google Forms that you need to complete. You can get to it through Edmodo or Google Classroom.